Alright, so welcome to this bus demo for the SCAT CPU. So now we're going to start to be connecting things together. So what I've done in this demo board is I basically set up the ALU, I set up all the registers, and I set up this special data element that allows me to enter data onto the system. Everything is connected onto a bus, just like in the book. So if we scroll through here, we'll see that we can uh, access all these different registers, and we have enable button here to enable one of them onto the bus, and set button to set that value into the one that's going to be currently selected. So what we're going to do here is go through an example in the book that's called doing something useful, where we'll be basically adding two numbers together. So we're going to be using my favorite example, adding 20 plus 22 to give us a value of 42. So the first thing we need to do is we need to input the value 20 here on using these switches here. So 16 plus 4. And we are going to enable this data basically onto the bus. So as we see here, this light turns on to indicate that the currently selected mode data is enabled. Now we're going to scroll over to R0 and set that value inside the register. So we're setting it here. So now the value went and stored into R0. We're going to go back to the data mode, and we're going to add here 2 to get the value 22. Enable this. It was already enabled, but we could do it again. Then we're going to set this value now into R1. So now we have initialized both registers that we're going to be using for the example. So in the book it says to enable R1 and set it into TMP. So we're going to go to TMP, we're going to set R1 into TMP. The next thing we're going to do is enable R0 onto the bus. So we're going to go to R0, we're going to enable it, and we're going to set the result of the operation that's going on behind the scenes through the ALU, and we're going to set it into the accumulator. So if we set, so the result of adding, we didn't touch basically the operation mode of the ALU, so it stayed to 0 by default, which is addition. The result is now stored into the accumulator. And in the third step in the book, basically we enable accumulator onto the bus, and we're going to store the value in R0. Now if we enable R0, we see that we have this value here, which is equal to 42. If we translate that binary digit, I think we have 32 plus 8 plus 2. So we can see that now it's really possible to move data between all the different parts. You can play more with this demo. There's MAR and RAM in here, so you can put stuff in certain addresses in memory, move it around. You can also use the different operations of the ALU using, I believe, these switches here. So if you have a board and you want to have fun, you can play with that. So now we start to have covered pretty much everything. So in the next videos, I'm going to start putting everything together and coming up with real example. It's going to take a little while. Now I have to implement the control unit and to put the circuitry to connect everything together. So I'll see you soon.